Well, good afternoon and welcome to this episode of Fish Finders for Dummies. I am the chief dummy here on Top Knox Fishing, Mark Cooper, and I am going to show you all the basic ins and outs of what a depth finder is, how it's hooked up, how you mount it, or how I've mounted it, and how to read it, how to adjust your settings, and all the things you need to know as a beginner to begin using a depth finder with side scan and down scan imaging. So that's our goal here today, is to get a little nerdy and see if we can't find some fish out here and some cool bottom stuff. All right, so before you even get scanning out there on the water, you got to mount this sucker. Now, how I've got this thing mounted is on a ram mount with a ball system. You can adjust it and move it around all over the place. So that's a ram mount right there. You buy them on the internet, wherever. And then you've got your unit plugs right here. The power is the smaller one, and the thing that goes to your transducer is this right here. Now, you may be asking, what is a transducer? Well, a transducer is the thing that hooks up to your screen that scans the bottom. Now, there's all different kinds of transducers. There's the live scope kind, there's the just standard 2D, there's a down scan one, and then there's one that has down scan imaging and side scan imaging and does it all, other than the live target, stuff like that. That's a story from another time. I don't have one of those. I have a Helix 12 Gen 2 that I bought used from a buddy, so it's not the nicest thing in the world, but it still does everything I need it to do, and it's got side scan and down scan imaging. I've got this thing mounted on a transducer mounting system. It's only got 2 screws going into my boat that I sealed up with silicone, and as you can tell, I've moved this thing all over the place because I keep hitting it on shoals, which I did yesterday, so it's loose and I've got to fix. But you need to look up online how far you need to have that transducer away from your boat motor, or you get disturbance. Now, disturbance is the fuzzy looking stuff on your graph that looks like mist, and it just kind of messes up what you're looking at. What we're going for is like a crystal clear view where you only see fish, the bottom of the lake, a thermocline if it's there, bait, but we don't want any other junk as much as we can. So get your transducer mounted. You want it as flush and as flat as possible. Again, I hit mine a shoal yesterday, so it's not super flat and flush, but I'm going to tighten it down here in a second and get it functioning for this video. And we're going to put this sucker in the water, and we're going to get out there and show you how to tweak your settings to get them working right on your lake or river. It's going to be different depending on the types of water you're fishing, because there's different sediment deposits in the water itself, different water clarities, all these different things, current levels, that all play into how you've got to adjust your settings. And if you just kind of get the basic gist of how to fiddle with it until you can get it somewhat dialed in, then you can just mess with it anywhere. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to put this guy in the water. No fishing rods today. This is just a learning experience, so stay tuned. So before we get this thing plugged up, I have cleaned it off for the first time in forever, but I need to show you what's inside of here, and this is pretty crucial in using one of these systems if you want to use the mapping and save your waypoints and not have them get fried on the hard drive if something bad happens. So this has 2 different SD card slots. It's obviously the bigger one. The micro SDs go inside of the unit itself, or the little outlet thing. This is just a standard SD card, 32 gigabyte. I use this to save my waypoints on in case something happens to this unit, so I can back them up to something, which will save your ass. If you don't do this, you need to start doing it. Okay, so I'll put that guy in slot numero uno. Number 2 is Humminberg Lake Master chip. This is awesome. They've been out here and scanned a bunch of these lakes, and it helps you have some topography graphs to go by before you go out there and start scanning and trying to find the cover on the structure itself. So worth the money. You can put it in just about all the units, and you can buy it for your specific region. They just plug in right there. This thing, locks in. It's got little gaskets, water resistant, proof, whatever. And yeah, so that's that. I'm gonna hook her up. Alrighty, so we're gonna get this sucker fired up. We got both our chips plugged in. I'm gonna hold down the power button right here. and that big old television screen's gonna turn on. Takes a few seconds to boot up, just like any other electronic. And then we'll be at our main menu here. Again, not the newest one in the world. Hey, I did a warranty claim and they sent me a new one. Because that was a Gen 2. This is a Gen 4. This is a brand new one. What the heck? Cool. All right, so I discovered something new. I literally had to send this unit off because we broke the screen, and they sent it back to me, and they had done something on the motherboard, and it messed it up worse than what it was. And I sent it back again, and I guess it sent me a new one because that was a Gen 4, not a Gen 2. So cool, whatever. But this is the mapping system that comes on the chip. So I'm going to show you what it looks like without the chip in it. We're going to take it out. Let's see if it reverts back. Yep, there it goes. Starting to load. They give you very base level stuff. So this thing's $100 something bucks. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but I mean, that's what it comes with. Barely anything. And then we're gonna plug this sucker back in here. Bloop. It's hard to do and film at the same time. I mean, I'd have to plug it in the right way too. That'd probably be a necessary component in this process. And then we want to upload the data. Yep. Cool. All right. So you can see, bam. I mean, it highlights stuff. Way more definition on the depth contours. If you don't know what a depth contour is, you can check out some of my other videos that explain what contours are and how fish relate to them. But for the purposes of this video, we are just focusing on how to use our unit here, how to get it scanning right. Now mine's already pretty good, so I may wig out the settings just so it looks crappy, and then we're going to dial it in together. Okay, so we've got several different options here, guys, on this unit. We've got plus and minus. Obviously, depends on what screen you're in, what that does. Plus here zooms in to where we're at on the map and just kind of shows us a more defined breakdown of the break lines, pun intended. And the minus, you know, takes us out. And I'm on Melton Hill Lake. That's where we're at. And I am scanning this big creek / bay that I have never scanned before. So you can see how I break something like this down, and we'll go on the main channel as well to do the same thing. So this is generally the screen that it'll start out on, is your lake map, and you can toggle through the different options with the view panel here up here at the top right. So it'll switch just between all kinds of different things that you can customize. But you have these 3 buttons right here on the side that when you click, turn to whatever you've got them set to. So they're like a favorites button on your phone or your computer browser. So for my first one, I've got that. The main one's the lake map, so I know where I'm running down the lake. On the second one, I've got 2D and then my lake, and then the third one I've got downhand side scan and 2D. So I'm going to start out going over the settings on each one of these real quick that I've got it set up as, so you can set your unit like this if you want to. So we're going to toggle over until we just find side scan only. That's what we're going to start with, because that's arguably one of the more important ones. Where are we at here? Come on. There's 2D. All right, here's side scan. This is side scan imaging right here. Let me clean my screen off too. I know that's going to drive you guys crazy. We're already picking up a tree, which is super cool. Okay, so we have got our unit here, and now we're going to take a look at what I've got my settings on. And to do that, we hit menu, and that's going to pop up this quick settings guide right here. When they come out of the box, they'll have the sensitivity turned on 10 and the contrast on 10, the SI range on 100 feet, and then the chart speed on 5. So 5 is really good. I like leaving it on that. And then you've got all these different color palette options down here at the bottom. So 1 is blue, 2 is that one, which I like, 3 is that one, I like that one too. 4 is green, 5 is, you know, just, you got all kinds of different flavors depending on what you like, and they all have different contrast settings you'll need to set your unit at. So mine are geared towards number 2 on here, okay? So, we'll go back to menu here. So, I got my sensitivity maxed out. I really like it like that. Again, I'll fiddle with it as we go. The SI contrast at 8. I'll show you what it does whenever we start fiddling with it. So, we can bump our contrast up here. And you can kind of see it makes things darker, and if you have a fish, it kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. I like things to be a little bit brighter. For whatever reason, I just prefer that, so I leave it on about an 8, and then I have my sensitivity pretty much maxed out. When you bump your sensitivity down like this, you know, it just kind of depends. You just have to fiddle with what you want. But a good range to start out at is 10, 10. And then 5 on your chart speed. You can bump your chart speed up if you want, or bump it down. And now your chart speed is how fast that thing's pinging and then reading on your unit down there. Here, look, we're coming over a tree right now. Or no, it just depends. That may be, no, yeah, that's a tree coming out here. But, so those are what I've got my side scan set up on. It works really well for the Tennessee River Lakes, like what I'm in. And, not super nasty river water. Now, if it gets really nasty, I'll have to bump the sensitivity down and fiddle with it a little bit. And they actually have, let me go back to the side imaging screen here. If you're in really, you know, just really nasty river water and it just looks all funky, hold on, I'm gonna give you guys a seizure here for a second. Come on, come on, come on, come on, go back, go back, go back. Okay, so if it looks like really nasty in here, like there's just fuzzy all over your graph, hit menu and then turn on dynamic contrast, and it'll just cut all of that out. I don't really need that on because the river I'm on right now, or the lake Milton Hill, isn't super nasty, and we haven't had a lot of rain lately, and it hasn't been gross. So that's how I've got that one set. The next one we're going to look at is my down scan imaging, which is just scanning straight under the boat. It's very similar to the 2D or the side imaging. I've actually got them set up on 1010. I may even fiddle with it while we're out here, but I've got those on just generic. And then I've got my lower range on auto, so it adjusts just what range is shown on this screen here. Chart speed on 5. Colors, I like 2. This is my favorite one for what I do. It just helps the trees and rock piles stand out and just really pop to me. So, yep, that's what we're doing with that one. And then our third and final one, I'm not the best with this one. I use 2D and side scan the most, but this one will show you different feedbacks. So the different bottoms, like what type of reading it is, and how I've got that one set up. You can see my settings here on a 14. And then a 22, lower range auto, sonar colors. I really like the 6. You can toggle through the options with what you like. I just like how that dark black just pops there. But there's all kinds of different ones you can mess with. But those are what I've got mine set on. And yeah, so we're gonna start scanning here. So now we've come out to the mouth of it here. I kind of had to move back in there to talk for a second because there's a bunch of party boaters on a pontoon out on the main lake. But we're gonna go back in here now and we're gonna scan this whole thing, and I'm gonna show you how I break down or scan a creek and mark my waypoints on it. And I've never been in this creek before with my graph to scan it, so all of these are gonna be fresh waypoints. I have no idea what lurks under the water out here and what cool stuff we're gonna find, but we're gonna start scanning here at the mouth. And the way I like to do it, I'll start on the steepest break line, so the thing that drops the most quickly first. So we're going to start on this creek channel right here as it comes in, and then we're going to work all our way back in and around this point, back in that bay, and around this bar. I'm interested to see what's on this right here. This looks really good. You got deep water leading in on either side of it, and then it comes up really shallow on the top. This is a great place for all kinds of game fish to push bait up on top of to feed on. So I'm already seeing stuff on the top out there, kinda. So That looks really good to me, but now we're gonna start scanning, and when I'm scanning, I'll generally run with this like that, and then I'll toggle back to that just to see where I'm at on the brake line. So I'm gonna get us in here real quick, and then we're gonna start scanning, and we're gonna see where we're at. Another really good tip I've got just from me being out here, and I don't have two screens, and if you wanna like think of where the brake line's at without having it on your screen down here, you wanna find something in the distance that lines straight up with the brake line. So if the brake line's like right here and you see a tree that stands out or some kind of mountain range like right there, you know you gotta aim at that tree to stay on that brake line. So we're gonna get in here and start scanning this puppy and see what we got. There's all kinds of ways to make this super, more complicated, but I'm just doing the basics right now. A lot of you guys who watch my channel are 40 years plus, and I was in the technology industry and sales for almost a decade, and I know to teach you old whippersnappers how to use this tech stuff, you gotta keep it simple at first, just because it's a new language. But once you got it, you got it. So we're starting simple here. I'm gonna show you how to read this stuff, and I'm gonna show you what bait looks like, what structure looks like, the ledges, and what cover or rock piles and trees and all those things look like, so you can better identify them on your graphs, how to mark a waypoint on them, and how to change that waypoint to what they are. So if it's a rock, you leave it as a rock, or if it's a tree, you leave it as a tree, or just stuff like that, so you know when you're... For my charting speed, I like to say 3 or 4 miles an hour with my chart speed at a 5. You can bump it down a little bit if you want to, but it seems with my boat and my unit, the 5 with the 3 to 4 mile an hour speed seems to work the best. So we're gonna bump over here and we're gonna get to scanning. And again, I'm just working down this brake line right now, about 15 feet of water, and gosh, there's bait everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. Okay, you guys, so we've been scanning for about 30 seconds now, and I've just found a brush pile out there. That looks like somebody's crappie tree they've dumped down there. So if we want to make a waypoint, we're going to take it, and this is the bottom. This is scanning down, and we're going to drop a waypoint on it. So we're going to scroll our cursor over to that, and we're going to hit mark. All right. Now let's see where that thing showed up. We're gonna go back to our main map here, and you can see it wasn't on the bank. This is out here a little bit deeper, which is what I like. So we're gonna zoom in on it, and you can see that brush pile we marked was in about 15, 16 feet of water, and it was clear as day. So to change that to a tree so we know what it is, we've got our cursor directly on top of the waypoint. We're gonna hit menu, and we're gonna go down to the waypoint, and we're gonna hit over, and we're gonna edit it. And then we're gonna go down to our icon, and then we're gonna scroll over until we see the little tree thing. And this is very, very useful so you know what you're looking at. So, all right, so there's a tree. Let's see if there's any other better looking ones. A rock pile, these are all just different types of fish. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. We're gonna make it that because that looks cool. We like that icon. Now we scroll down. You can see exactly where I'm at. I don't really care. You can probably catch crappie on that. Hit save. Boom. Now we know there's a tree there. All right. Okay, so before we go any further back in here, I kind of want to stop and explain like the mental image you've got to have in your head to like think about side scan imaging a little bit better. So you've got your transducer back down there behind the motor, and it's scanning a cone down like this. Just picture a cone going down below your boat, all right? And then obviously this screen over here can't show it that way, so it's got to put it in a way that it can show on the screen. So you've got your cone coming down like this under the boat, and the way it pictures it on the screen is by taking it and folding it this way, so it kind of shows it flat like that. So just picture this like this, and then it folds it that way. And you've got your left and your right side, and your ranges you can set. So if you're shallower, in shallower water, you can set your range a little bit closer, and it'll make those images not appear so blown up. But if you're out deep and you've got it so tight in, you won't really see anything at all, and you'll just be running all over the place. So that's kind of how you got to think about it in your head. it's weird to explain that in a way that, you know, getting it out of my weird ADD brain and putting it in a way you guys can understand it, but that's just how I think of it. So it's got a cone, and then the unit takes the cone and spreads it out on the screen like that, okay? So you're seeing out this way, and then you're seeing out that way. So to better demonstrate that, we're about, I don't know, 60, 70 feet from that bank over there, and it's showing these trees on the shadow here. So those are the trees that are on that bank right there. I mean, that's all well and good that we can see that those trees are there. What I really want to find are trees out there in the center, because those are the trees that nobody fishes, or not very many people fish. And if you learn how to use this thing, you can find them out there and catch them big old fish on them out deep. All right, so we are running into a big school of what it looks like crappie to me. I'm gonna switch this over to 2D real quick, or actually side scan only. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, there it is. So we're on side scan only right now. We're gonna get better image, and you can see the tree that was kind of out here in the center. All right, now we're gonna zoom in, and like you can see it clear as day right now. Now look at these fish over here. Now the fish themselves aren't the black thing. Those are the shadows from the fish. The fish are right here, these dark white, or not dark white, light, like shining looking objects. And those will change based on how you mess with your sensitivity. So, hey, there's a wood duck. So we're gonna mark this real quick, because that looks really good. I'm not gonna go fiddle with the what it is right now on the waypoint, but we're gonna fiddle with our sensitivity real quick. So if we bump this down, we can kind of watch what it's doing here. Okay, so we're down to about a 10 sensitivity, and they don't, the fish themselves don't stick out as much for us, but we're gonna bump up our contrast, and it gets a little darker. See how it just doesn't look as good to me. So I'm gonna back that down to an 8 again, and then we're gonna take our sensitivity and we're gonna bump it way back up. So now you can really see those fish down in there. And those are some decent fish, okay? As I'm doing this, I'm kind of bumping into this point a little bit and then coming back out, just kind of bobbing and weaving just a little bit so I can see, you know, up on top of it a little bit, and then I'll go back out deep and check the outside of it, and then I'll cut back to this thing right here. We're about to wrap around the tip of it. I mean, this thing comes way, 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 way out, and we're gonna get a really good look of what's on it out here. See how the green's the deepest portion, red's very shallow, and we're gonna come on the tip of it down here, just to see if we run into anything. Okay, for all you bass guys out there, I'm gonna show you what grass looks like. And this is how I know it's grass. Here's my downscan imaging. It's not super defined like that tree was. Like that tree, it like stuck out. But on here, you can see it's got all different colors that are coming back on the scan. So that tells me that it's got different like thicknesses to it. And I think that looks like grass to me. And there are some fish mixed in with it on the side scan imaging there, but that is what grass looks like on your screen there based on the settings I have. Okay, so I want to show you what we found right here. We've got all our different views, but we have a large tree down here on the bottom, and we're gonna mark, wrong button, mark. But you can see up here on the top pane, on the side imaging pane, the really good differentiation we've got between the tree itself and then the fish that are on it. So I think that's a tree full of crappie, personally. Let's get over to it. There we go. We're gonna zoom in on it. I mean, I ain't a crappie guy, but that looks like a tree full of crappie. We've also got a ton of stump piles out here too. I mean, they're just everywhere. So these are all really good things to mark if you are a crappie guy or a bass guy, heck, even a flathead guy. I want to know all these are here. That's why I'm marking all of them. Look, we've got a tree down here on the bottom too. We can zoom in on it. I mean, we can see that thing crystal clear down there. And we're gonna put our waypoint on that guy too. And we can even see the fish that are hanging around it. I mean, we still got the job of trying to catch them, but I'm really trying to show you guys how to dial in that graph today. Wild. Super cool that you can see all that stuff. But, as you can tell, I've bobbed and weaved my whole way around this thing. And a lot of it's pretty featureless. It's like a muddy bottom. There's some grass and stuff out there. But I did mark a few key areas that I'm gonna come back and fish. Like I'm gonna fish this for catfish once the spawn's over. And dadgummit, it's full of bait too, boys and girls. It's full of bait. That's what we're looking for. We got good depth, we got good structure, we got good cover, and we got bait. It's the recipe to catch some big ass fish. All right, now we're gonna go out deep. And deeper's harder to scan, but if I can find a big giant tree out there or a rock pile, I'm gonna show that to you guys. But I think you have a pretty decent understanding about how a fish finder works, how all the different settings on it function. Now there's a lot more in detail I can go, but this is just your base level thing that gets you started if you've got one of these units. And you kind of understand how I go about graphing an area and how you can go about graphing the area too. Mark your waypoints, and then how to fish it's a totally different video, multiple videos, different fish, all those kinds of things. But that's how you use your graph to scan an entire creek system here and mark the best spots within that area. And look at all this daggum bait. I should have brought my bait pole because there be skippies busting. The next thing we're going to check out is the giant bluff wall. A lot deeper, a lot sharper of a drop. We're going to see what's there. We got our main channel ledge here, and I am just going to go straight down the ledge. I'm going to stay in the deepest portion on the sharpest break line right here, and we're going to see if anything's on that. And then we'll cut it for this video if we don't find anything. We have found the Holy Grail. 40 feet deep, big, giant timber piles, rock piles. There's fish all over it. Look at this giant tree right here. That's what you're looking for, baby. And it's way out here. That is the Holy Grail right there. Well, that's going to be it for this episode of Top Knox Fishing. I am Chief Dummy himself, Mark Cooper, and you have just finished watching Fishing for Dummies. And maybe you too are a dummy but want to learn. You have come to the right channel because I'm Chief Dummy. You've learned how to read a graph. You've learned how I mark spots. You've learned all the ins and outs of the basics of a fish finder, specifically the Helix 12. This applies towards Garmin and towards Alliance. You're just going to have to look at how their settings are set up. I'm sure it's similar to this guy, and I hope you catch some big old fish. I hope you have a good time, and we're going to get after them, baby. Let's go!